Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Today, a graveside service will be held for Vicky White at 1 p.m. at the Center Hill Cemetery in Lexington, Alabama. Vicky's mother, Pat, her two brothers, a nephew, and other family will be there. Casey White, inmate number 00282-371. Although he's back in Alabama, he won't be attending his quote-unquote wife's funeral. He's been transferred to William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility near Bessemer, a maximum security prison. Someone else who won't be there will be Casey White's mother, Connie, even though Connie really wishes she could be there. She told AL.com, quote, "My heart goes out to her family. They just don't know how bad it hurts me, that it hurts them." End quote. This is because Connie knew about Casey's feelings for Vicky all along. Well, sort of. Let me explain. But before I get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. So even murderers have mothers who still love them. We may have our opinions on whether a hardened criminal can have a soft heart, but a mother, you'd imagine, would know best. 62-year-old Connie Moore, barely 6 years older than Vicky, is Casey's mother. She describes the relationship starting not on the phone but as pen pals when Casey returned to state prison, and that is when Vicky started writing letters to him. She said, "It just started out as pen pals, and as time went on, he talked about how much he loved her and what a good person she was." His mom said she was glad and she didn't try and interfere. She didn't tell him what he should do. She said, "Everybody needs a pen pal and someone to talk to. I thought it was good." Although Connie knew about Casey's relationship with Vicky, he didn't know her real name or her position or that she was a jailer. Bad boys know not to tell their mothers everything. Interestingly, Connie did meet Vicky on one occasion, and this is what Connie says about that. Quote, "She just wanted to visit Casey's grandbaby. It sort of seemed odd. Casey White has two children, a son and daughter, and a 2-year-old grandchild. Casey called and said she was coming by, and it just happened that fast, and she was at the door. She seemed real nice, and it was nothing out of the ordinary. She didn't stay very long. I didn't know who she was." End quote. So it's quite interesting. Did she not say her name when she arrived there? And I guess she wasn't in her uniform. How would she have identified herself? Maybe it seemed odd to her, but I think the reason it makes sense is Vicky didn't have kids of her own, and so she was sort of experiencing that missing part of herself, that vital missing puzzle piece through Casey. She was experiencing not only this criminal as a father figure, but also allowed to be a mother figure herself, to some extent to him. But I think she likely yearned, it was a likely much yearned for feeling in a 56-year-old spinster facing retirement alone. Remember, no partner and no kids unless she made it work with Casey. She probably figured she could have a peek at some of that lost life with him. And part of the recovery of that lost life was doing stuff like sending Christmas and birthday gifts to Casey's grandchild, as well as his 12-year-old son. Connie also said that Casey had talked about this woman he was seeing. Connie, as I say, didn't know she was a jailer and didn't know her name, but spoke about this woman he was seeing getting him out of jail. Legally, of course. Bad boys know not to tell their mothers everything. And so Connie said that he talked about that she was going to get a lawyer and do all this and get him out of all that trouble, and they were going to be together. And she said she responded saying, "Well, Casey, why in the world would she want to spend that kind of money and it still might not work? I don't think that's a good idea unless she's got more money than she knows what to do with." That was her response. So if you think about it, if one day Casey approached his mother on her doorstep one day, you could say, "Oh, you know why I'm here? Her lawyer got me out of prison. That's why I'm here. I told you I was innocent all along." But of course, all of this would assume that his mother wouldn't know what really happened, wouldn't know her real position, Vicky's real position, and also wouldn't find out on the national news. That was the surprise element to this whole story. That was the part that none of them anticipated. Connie also admitted that she didn't realize the extent of the couple's involvement until Vicky White broke Casey White out of jail. She didn't really realize, wow, that's the woman that he's been writing to, and that's her position at the jail. Connie learned about all of this on the news, and she said that's also when she learned the identity of his wife, right? And she said, it's a shock. I don't remember nothing for 2 or 3 days. Do you think that's a little suspicious that during this critical initial period, when you'd imagine he would want to talk to the people closest to him, that she doesn't remember anything? Connie said whenever Casey referred to this woman, it was as his wife, or he called her baby. And so Connie also said, I knew that she wasn't in no harm. Casey's not the monster that they're making him out to be. No? Do you want to know the real reason Casey needed Vicky, and also why it could be a danger to anyone?
Are you sure you want to hear this?
Connie said her son was diagnosed when he was a teenager at 18 years of age as bipolar and schizophrenic. She said he couldn't make it on his own. He's never been on his own. I've always took care of him, or my parents and sister when they were living. Connie also sounds like an enabling parent, never holding him accountable, always making excuses for him, and because she always felt sorry for him, she'd do things for him. And Vicky possibly fit the same profile as an enabling motherly type, which is why he trusted her and felt safe with her. Like his mother, she was also an authority figure. Connie said, he wasn't going to do nothing to her. I knew that. I told the US Marshals that. Then I got to worrying about her killing him. She said she did not hear from the couple when they were on the run. Connie also says that she believes Vicky masterminded the escape. Why? Well, Casey wasn't a planner, Connie says. Well, that part certainly sounds right. Connie found out about her son's capture and Vicky's suicide the same way that she found out about the escape from the national news. And she couldn't believe that they showed, in her words, they showed everything. She said if there'd been a shootout, they would have showed both of them getting killed. She said this was ridiculous what they showed. Connie also said she granted the interview to AL.com, quote, because it was important for somebody to speak out for Casey. Interestingly, there's not much thought for speaking out for Vicky. Maybe it's because her mother Pat is grieving. Maybe we'll hear Vicky's story from Vicky's mother in detail in due course. Connie goes on to say, beware of mental illness. In terms of Casey, she says he didn't like to stay on his medicine, and his next choice was to self-medicate. Connie says she didn't believe that he was involved in other crimes, and she said she didn't believe that her son killed 58-year-old Connie Ridgway, someone sharing her name and just 2 years older than Vicky. Regarding his upcoming court cases, and bear in mind he escaped in order to avoid these, she says that she believes that, or she hopes that they don't find him guilty and that there's two sides to every story, and she thinks that mental illness might play a role. But there's also more reason to believe there were some real feelings of love from her son, based on what Connie told the Daily Mail in another exclusive interview. She said, quote, they were just two people who really loved each other. It's just so sad, and I worry for Casey. I spoke to him yesterday and he was crying and saying he couldn't believe she was gone. And so that does sound like, if it's true what she's saying, that there was some remorse. And apparently she said this from her home in Athens, Alabama. Connie also said Vicky was really, really good to him, just being there for him, talking with him. They had a real thing. She's saying it's real. You know, why does it hurt so much? Because it was real.
Why does it hurt so much?
Because it was real.
I'm not sure if that's strictly speaking true. I think sometimes it hurts so much because you come into reality out of a fiction. And so it's not so much that the feelings were real, it's the opposite. It's that it was all so unrealistic to begin with. I said earlier that Casey's mother was an enabler. Well, in terms of him calling this woman that she didn't even know her name, his wife, when he was in prison, she said, I just sort of went along with it. She said, I didn't say you shouldn't or whatever because it made him happy. All Casey's troubles, Connie said, stem from just two things, drugs and women. Casey's made bad choices with both, but not with Vicky. She was a good woman, Connie said. Oh, Casey didn't make a bad choice with Vicky. Well, what do you think about that from Vicky's perspective? Connie also slammed, according to the Daily Mail, speculation that her son might have pulled the trigger. She said, he's very upset. I know he loved her. He talked to me for over a year about how he had a friend, how nice she was, and how he loved her. But she also said, the main thing for Casey has always been the drugs and the woman. That combination is so common in true crime, it's a cliche. Unless you're watching a certain trial that is playing out right now, then drugs are irrelevant and violence is hypothetical. Connie also provides this interesting insight into Casey's backstory. She said, quote, growing up, he was just a basic country kid. He was always tall, but nobody tried to pick a fight with Casey because of it. He was never violent, but when there were drugs there, he would do them and it went from bad to worse, end quote. Does that make sense? I can't find the quote now. It seems to have been edited out or removed, but Casey apparently also said he was upset that Vicky was gone and where was he going to find someone else like her? And they weren't going to let him have a relationship again. Do you think he will? Don't be too quick to answer. Damien Eccles met his wife while on death row, and guess how they met? Their relationship also started by writing letters. So I'm not going to take it further than that. Just one quick announcement. Stephanie, a longtime friend of this channel, went to CrimeCon in Vegas, and today she'll be taking us through a long-awaited, much-anticipated debrief on what she experienced in Las Vegas, which cases she sat in on. She took a lot of notes. I've seen them. She's transcribed them, typed them out. That's going to be a very interesting conversation. So look out for that later today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.